This episode is brought to you by my book, Be Left Behind, available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and everywhere books are sold. If you've ever been interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and curious why Bitcoin has gone above $40,000 since the start of 2021, and if it could go even higher, this is the book for you. I've gotten messages in the last few weeks from professors, Silicon Valley investors, and friends and family thanking me for writing a book that brings everybody, no matter where they are, up to speed in language they can understand so that they best know how to approach Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Again, if it's anything you've ever been curious about and want to know where to start, Be Left Behind is the perfect book to do that. And I'm very, very proud of it. You can purchase it on Amazon, your local bookstore, Barnes & Nobles, or if you are interested in an autographed copy, go to my website, yuricataldo.com. This episode is also brought to you by MeetFox.com. MeetFox is the simplest solution to interact with your clients online with their easy-to-use, fully web-based, no tech skills required system. All you have to do is sign up on their site. You can then link your calendar together, and it's a single one-click scheduling. They eliminate the back and forth, will allow you to fill up your calendar directly and quickly. And personally, I love this feature because back and forth to find meetings is a huge pain. You then can do your meetings online on their interface, which works really well. Also, they set up instant payments and automatic invoicing. So if you're charging clients for these meetings, you can do it automatically. You can do it before the meeting happens. It's absolutely fantastic one-stop shopping for anybody who's looking to monetize their time with online meetings. That's meetfox.com. If you use the promo code Yuri, you will get 2 months absolutely free, which is a special deal that they gave me. And stay tuned for a special interview with one of the co-founders of MeetFox on the story behind the company, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, that's meetfox.com. Use the promo code Yuri, Y-U-R-I, at checkout, and you'll get 2 months absolutely free.
Welcome to Advance Your Art. If you are interested in making money from your art, using your artistic background to your advantage when switching careers, or if you are just plain stuck, you've come to the right place. Now let's get started and have some fun with your host Yuri Cataldo.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Advance Your Art with Yuri Cataldo. If you're interested in learning how to build a company, make money from your art, or if you're just feeling stuck, you've come to the right place. Every week, I sit down with a creative entrepreneur to discuss the who, what, where, when, and how of their journey. And as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. Today, I'm sitting down with B. Jeffrey Madoff, founder of Madoff Productions. Jeff, hello. How are you?
Hi, Yuri. I'm good, and thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. How are things in your neck of the woods?
Well, I'm in New York City, and right now, which is December 9th, we're dealing with what the rest of the country is dealing with, which is larger COVID numbers and hospitals that are reaching stress points. So, we're living in a unique, historic time, that's for sure.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, so since you're in New York, and that seems to be New York has been in the forefront of a lot of people's thoughts and on the news because of Andrew Cuomo and just what's been happening. How has the pandemic been in your experience over these last 9 months?
Well, New York was hit very early and very hard. So, and at a time when we did not know much about COVID. And although we're still learning, 9 months ago, we knew a lot less and there wasn't a vaccine on the horizon.
Yeah.
So, with the hospitals being overburdened, with the sound of sirens constantly going on, it was difficult, but it also meant use common sense, stay indoors, wash your hands, keep physically distanced. I like that better than socially distant. I try to be socially close but physically distant. Right. And wear a face mask. And the good result out of a bad situation that New York went through is that people around here wear face masks for the most part. And that, you walk around different areas and the vast majority of people you encounter, because we knew how bad it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, New York is not one of those states that went into denial about the virus.
Right.
And it's very sad that wearing a face mask became weaponized as a political issue when it's a public health issue. And that people are protecting not only themselves, but others when wearing them.
Right.
And it's less bad here now than it is in other states because of what we went through in the past. But, we as a nation, even the world really, are in a tough situation. But thank goodness there seems to be a very effective couple of vaccines on the horizon,
Mm-hmm.
which will still take time to be deployed and to vaccinate people and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. It's good to hear. So for my listeners who are less familiar with your work and what you do, how do you describe yourself and what you do?
Well, I do a few things, Yuri. One is I have my production company, and so we produce and direct what's now called branded content.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually online. We also do commercials. We also do commissioned documentaries and brand positioning. And then I teach a course called Creative Careers, Making a Living with Your Ideas at Parsons School for Design in New York City, where each week I bring in different creative entrepreneurs or just different creatives who talk about what they do, their process, maybe not unlike some of the stuff that you do. And that ended up, because I kept getting asked, why don't you write a book? And so I did. And my book came out this summer. Strange time to be launching a book too, but in a way a good time, because people were home and apparently were reading books and of course watching streaming videos on their computers or TVs. And I also have written and am producing a play, and we have a theater deal. And about 2 months ago, I had to make the call because I said to my management, we're supposed to move into the theater in April of 21. Mm-hmm. I'm really concerned about that. I don't think we're going to be through COVID yet. But I want to move to first quarter of 22. And we were able to make that move. So, if I knew how long it was going to take to mount a play, I would have started when I was younger. It's a journey.
Yes, it is. I know that journey very, very well. Wonderful. So there's so much, I guess, that I want to jump into. But before I do, I know before you did these three big items, you were a fashion designer. So I wanted to ask you about that first. So what initially got you interested in becoming a fashion designer, and what was the world of fashion like at that time?
Well, it happened by accident. I had a double major, went to the University of Wisconsin, and was a philosophy and psychology major. And I was on the wrestling team, so that was a great combination. People were looking for the mix. I mean, my phone was ringing off the hook at that time to just want to hire a sage who knew how to wrestle. And I was working at a small boutique in Madison. And a dear friend of mine that I grew up with, who had graduated a year before me, said, I've saved up some money. Can you think of a gig that would earn more than bank interest? So I saw what we sold, and I could always draw. So I said, I'll start a clothing company. And when I think back on this year, I think it's a good thing, like I wasn't in the bathroom. I might have said, well, I'll start a toilet paper company. Yeah. It was context. That's where I was. And, I was about as well prepared for that as I was for anything else, which meant not prepared at all. Mm-hmm. I was quite ignorant, but not stupid. And, ignorance you can learn, stupidity is forever. So fortunately, I just had the ignorant part. And I learned a tremendous amount, doing that.
Yeah. So was your company always based then out of Madison, Wisconsin, or did you move it into a, like, I guess when in the States, when we think of fashion, the houses, we think of them being in New York City. Is that why you ended up in New York City, or was it because of something else?
Well, yeah, I moved from Madison to Footville, Wisconsin. I'm sure you've heard of that. Uh, and yeah, Madison was too big. Footville, I took over a clothing factory there.
Okay.
And so moved the base of the business there. And it was interesting because the previous factory made clothing for two groups.
Mm-hmm.
They made, here's a little bit of political history. They made dresses for CREEP, which was Committee to Re-elect the President, which at that time was Richard Nixon. And they also made clothing for Barbie dolls. And
Wow.
the woman who owned the building, when I met her at her office, on across her windowsill were all these Barbie dolls. And the three times I met with her, she was wearing a dress that matched the Barbie dolls. So this was some surreal stuff, man. I was waiting for Rod Serling to walk into the room. But after a while, realized that I had to be in New York because I wanted to be in New York. That's why I had to be in New York.
Okay.
And I had a wonderful man who was my financial backer. And he had made it clear from the beginning that the reason he was investing in me was because I provided jobs for Wisconsinites. And he owned banks in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we banked there. And if I moved the base of the business outside of Wisconsin, he was not going to continue to back me.
Okay.
But at a certain point, I was compelled to move to New York. I wanted to be in the thick of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did that move go? And how did then because I know that, you're not in fashion anymore. I'm curious then. So the move, and then what happened that made you no longer want to be in fashion anymore?
So, well, I'll try to make that short. That's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. Is basically, I realized that money comes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
Time only goes. And although I was quite young, I started my company when I was like 21. I wanted to move to New York because I was seduced by the energy and the stimulus of New York. I'm a stimulus junkie.
Yeah.
And so I loved being in New York City. And when it got to the point that I wanted to move there and talk to my backer, he said to me, I'm not going to continue to back you if you move. And he had been clear about that. He was a very good man.
Yeah.
I had no ill feelings at all. But I had to make a decision at a really young age. Do I shut this down? Does that make me a failure? Closing down a business. There was a recession going on then, and I had to lay off a lot of people, which was really rough because they were all substantially older than I.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them had families, so I was painfully aware of the impact that was going to have on them. And that realization that time is irreplaceable. And I felt I could make money again. And I had saved up some. If I could live frugally, I could not work for a year. And that's what I did and moved to New York.
Wow.
So to answer the other part of your question is I started up another company.
Okay.
And when I ran out of money, and I met some people who were doing some film work. And that's a whole other story. But what attracted me was the opportunity to tell stories. Mm-hmm. And to use more of what I believed were my talents and to be able to express those in a much bigger way and collaborate with people in a much different way was very, very appealing to me. And I had a strong intuitive feel for film and for storytelling. And so I switched careers and moved into that.
Yeah. So is that let's say, the beginning of what then became Jeffrey Madoff Productions, or how did that company that you're running now evolve?
I started a company with a few other people. They had started had no traction yet at that point.